Stirling Castle, symbol of the spirit of Scotland. William Wallace, Braveheart, fought for control of this castle, which lies 450 miles from London. And Braveheart's castle, dramatic, historic, haunted, is number 6 in Britain's top 10 castles and palaces. Within sight of the walls of Stirling Castle is a monument built to Scotland's great national hero. William Wallace is a shadowy historical figure, but 2 things about him are certain. He was never called Braveheart, and he didn't look like Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson showed William Wallace as your stereotypical Scotsman as he's seen today. The kilt, the long hair. William Wallace was nothing like that.
So what was he like? This is William Wallace as he really looked, not as Hollywood made him look. In 1297, William Wallace wanted to regain Stirling Castle from the English king, Edward I. At the Battle of Stirling Bridge, Wallace fought an army twice as big as his own, splitting it into 2 smaller ones as it crossed the bridge. There were many terrible deaths in the battle. The most terrible was that of the English king's treasurer, Hugh de Cressingham.
His skin was flayed from his body, it was turned into leather, and then it was used for various objects, wallets, sword sheaths, even bits of paper on which the news of the victory of the Battle of Stirling Bridge was then written and sent around the country.
The victory at the Battle of Stirling Bridge ensured that the name of William Wallace is still remembered 700 years after his death. The early morning mists of Stirling drown the Forth Valley below the castle, creating a ghostly atmosphere. After 8 centuries of battles and murders here, many people believe that at least one of these deaths has spawned a ghost that haunts the castle. Many say they have seen it or heard it. Gary Darcy, the castle's senior steward, was locking up the vaults one day when the lights failed and the staircase was plunged into darkness.
I suspected it was somebody playing a trick on me, so I stood at the top of the staircase here and listened to hear for voices so I could find out who it was. I didn't hear any voices, but what I did hear was footsteps coming up the back of me. Now, having checked the tower, I knew that there was nobody down there. As the footsteps approached the back of me, I turned around and there was no one there. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and it just felt, it just didn't feel right, and I just had this sense and this urge just to leave.
Much of Stirling's history has been dark, but there have been lighter moments. Stirling Castle has seen one of man's first attempts at flight. This unlikely incident took place 500 years ago in the reign of King James IV of Scotland. The king employed a scientist, John Damien, to try to turn base metal into gold.
Damien was a bit of a mad scientist. There would be lots of bangs and whizzes and things going on from his laboratories which would impress people to actually think that he was actually doing something.
Having failed to produce gold, Damien tried to gain the king's approval another way. He made a pair of giant wings using strips of wood, chicken feathers, and glue. In the presence of the king, the visiting French ambassador, and the entire Scottish court, Damien boasted that he would fly from Stirling Castle to France.
He jumped Now, for a moment, he may have hung in the air like a bird of prey would hang, but then, with the grace and dignity of a stone, he then flew straight vertically downwards.
John Damien was even less successful at flight than he was at making gold. But he had one stroke of luck, a soft landing in the sewage of the cesspit at the foot of the castle walls. He broke only a wing, a leg, and his pride. His mistake, he claimed, was in using chicken feathers, because chickens can't fly. Eagle feathers, he claimed, would have carried him to France. So let's see where we are so far in Britain's top 10 castles and palaces. At number 10, we had Windsor Castle. Number 9 was Hampton Court Palace. Number 8, Edinburgh Castle. And number 7, St. Michael's Mount. Number 6 was Stirling Castle. And next at number 5, Caernarfon Castle, built to proclaim the power of one of Britain's military giants. 250 miles from London on the Welsh coast, Caernarfon Castle holds the answer to why Princess Diana was Diana, Princess of Wales. For its splendor, its unique architecture, and its links to the Prince and Princess of Wales, Caernarfon is number 5 in our countdown of Britain's top 10 castles and palaces. 800 years ago, King Edward I of England invaded and conquered Wales. He built Caernarfon Castle as a symbol of his military might.
The appearance of Caernarfon, with its angular towers, its stripes, and its turrets, is a testimony not only to Edward's successful conquest, but is built to the glory of a new reign.
Edward spent 90% of his entire annual budget on building this one castle. And Caernarfon has a unique feature.
If you look here, we have arrow slits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. But when we go inside, we're going to see something completely different. This is one of those 5, and it goes straight out over what was the moat. If I move over here, what you will see, there is another arrow slit joining that one. If we go over here, what you're going to see is that yet another arrow slit joins that same one. In other words, for every one arrow slit we have on the outside, we have 3 archers on the inside. Every single square inch out there could be hit at the same time. It was like a medieval machine gun.
Caernarfon Castle also holds the answer to why the very English Princess Diana was called Diana, Princess of Wales. When the English King Edward I conquered North Wales, he took the title Prince of Wales from the Welsh princes and bestowed it on his son. Later monarchs followed suit. So ever since Edward I, hardly any of the princes of Wales have actually been Welsh. In 1969, in a ceremony at Caernarfon, Prince Charles was created 21st Prince of Wales by his mother, the present Queen Elizabeth.
A special platform was created so the Prince of Wales could stand here and wave to the assembled masses. Three houses had been demolished so they could stand and wave back.
But the title that was created those hundreds of years ago was the title Prince of Wales, not Princess of Wales.
And the only way you can become a Princess of Wales is to marry a Prince of Wales.
And that is what happened in 1981 when Diana Spencer married Charles, Prince of Wales. And from then until her death in 1997, Diana became the most famous Princess of Wales of all time. It all began here at Caernarfon Castle. Coming up next, a moated castle that Henry VIII doubled in size so that he could stay there for just one night.